Welcome to Product People live stream. We Before we start, there is a Slido.com code as well as a QR code. Please feel free to scan that, and we will also be engaging with you via Slido, as well as asking some of the questions that you can also later ask. But if you haven't yet scanned it, we will show it again. And okay. All right, I think we should have enough people to move forward. So today we have Chiara with us, who is our head of product at Marktplaats. She's leading product strategy and product development across one of Netherlands' largest marketplaces. She has led and built product teams in both startups and large organizations, and she has worked across commerce, e-commerce, and recommerce. Today she will also be talking about building a product vision that actually shapes decisions, something that a lot of junior PMs do not get to do at the start of their career. What does it look like? How does it happen, etc. And a little bit about me. Okay, I am a product management consultant here at Product People. I have over 7 years of experience in product management. I've worked from B2C to B2B. And these are some of the companies that I have previously worked for. And yeah, very brief description of who I am. Okay. Then a little bit about Product People before I hand it over to Kiara. So our mission is to help companies discover and deliver great products faster. We do interim product management. We empower product management community to share knowledge generously while managing the hands-on work of a product manager, product ops, product leaders on a fractional basis. We onboard fast, align teams, and deliver outcomes to our in-house team. We also curate free events like this one for one of the biggest communities in Europe that has over 60,000 members, and that is how we give back to the community. Okay. We also want to get to know you. So we have a little poll here, and that is how well do people in your organization remember your product vision? Do they talk about it in their daily language? Do they sometimes talk about it? They know the direction, etc. Or C, very vaguely, they know it exists. Or D, not really, nobody knows that it exists, and it's rarely discussed. um, the slido.com QR code as well as the code is also there. Please feel free to add in your answers. We'll wait for a few seconds or maybe a minute till we have some answers. Okay, we have some answers, and it's currently looking like B. Generally, most people know the direction, but it's not also part of the daily language. Let's wait for a few more answers, and then we can hand it over to Kiara. Okay, it's like it's shifting. Okay. So we have 13% saying very well, it's part of our daily language. 38% saying B, most people know the direction, and 50% say they know it exists. Okay, so now with this, I think we can hand it over to our guest speaker. Kara, if you would like to share your screen, I'll stop sharing.
Yes, thanks. Let's see now if this goes smooth. Um, Yes, nice. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Chiara. As Batul was saying, I'm heading the product organization at Marktplaats. Marktplaats is the biggest second-hand platform in the Netherlands, a very, very big marketplace that spans across all sort of consumer goods, even into more of the motors and automotive categories. I've been building and leading product organizations over the last 10 years, but a mix of experiences from the more startup sizes to the enterprise, large corporate kind of environment. And thinking back of all the different chapters in my career and trying to think of what could be a valuable topic for today's live stream, I try to think of what were the questions that were top of mind for me as I grew more from individual contributor to management roles. So I landed on this question that I've kind of tried to solve over the last years, especially, which is how can I create direction for my teams, for my organization, in a way that still leaves a lot of ownership and decision making to the teams. So a direction that is inspiring, that also tells people where we're going, but also doesn't preempt all decision making. And the fun part of product management doesn't take those things away from them. So that's where I landed with the topic for today. We will be talking about product vision, and I know that different people and different organizations look at visions in different ways. So I'll give you my definition of it. A vision for me is not a manifesto. It's not something that teams should be printing and putting on a wall and following by the letter. And it's also not something that stays extremely high level, because that is also not helpful. I see visions more as a compass, as a way for you to signal to the organization where we should be heading and why, and also for the teams to then be able to use it in their daily language. So in the initial poll, 50% said, yeah, people kind of don't really talk about the vision of our organization. I hope that with this talk, you'll get a few tips and you'll be able to actually get more towards that. Everyone knows about the direction. It's part of the daily language. The main the main starting point for product visions and good product visions is not per se the content of the vision. So as I said, I don't believe in visions that tell it all, that strip teams out of ownership and decision making. But I also have seen that first, when I was on the receiving end of a vision, when I had leaders above me kind of presenting a vision to the organization, and then when I started, getting my hands into creating product visions, I've seen certain patterns, certain things that have happened over and over, and made me actually think, okay, maybe there is something to learn here, and ways that we can do this better. You might recognize the pattern of you've done all the work, we've spoken with a lot of stakeholders, you've created a vision you really believe in, you get to present it to your organization, and the moment you do, everyone claps, everyone is enthusiastic about it, everyone feels excited about it. And after maybe a few days or a few weeks, it kind of disappears into thin air. So yes, there is a vision, but kind of it's not living on in the minds of the people in your organization. It actually does not help teams in their daily life. So it's kind of, it becomes irrelevant. So to avoid this pattern, so to try to go more into, or to try to create visions that actually can shape decisions, that can guide the teams when you, as a leader, are not there in the room. I've done a lot of experimentation over the years on myself, and I've tried very different versions. And I'll go a bit into a more tangible example of my last attempt of creating a vision, which I believe, unbiased, that is the best yet. and I'll give you a few of the tips on actually, what I've learned along the way and how I've corrected course, especially with these last attempts. When trying to gather all my knowledge and think back of all the different visions I've seen presented, or I've presented to organizations, I try to boil down the reasons why visions fail, because very often it's not per se the content of the vision. It's not that you've not done your own work. It's not that you've not identified the right opportunities per se, but there are other things that come in the way. So I've tried to boil it down to three to keep it simple. And the first failure, the first reason of failure that I've identified looking back is you have a vision that is very inspirational. You have a vision that actually paints a great picture forward. And as I said, very often those presentations, these kind of visions, when presented, create a lot of excitement in the organization. But very often these kind of visions also fail to give any direction. They stay very high level. They talk about extremely good performance and extremely high customer satisfaction, but they're not really anchored in anything that the teams can actually relate to. A second reason that for which I've seen visions fail is the communication choices, and this spans from the people you get involved in the process of communicating vision, the kind of formats you use to communicate, and even the ways you actually keep the vision alive in the minds of anyone in your organization. When I talk about organization here, I'm not only talking about product organizations. I'm talking about organizations as a whole, because I believe, and in the majority of business that I've seen, product visions are quite strongly embedded with where the company is going as a whole. So here, a lot to talk about. Already, I give you the spoiler that I'm not a big fan of big decks with a lot of pillars and fancy graphs to describe a vision. That we'll talk later about what I've learned along the way, and some things that have proven more successful than others. Last but not least, I've seen some visions staying extremely theoretical. So yes, we've talked about, we've already said some of the visions stay high level. I've also seen visions that do not call out any of the trade-offs. They are very inclusive. Every area of the business is a priority. And I believe as product people and as product leaders that our best skill maybe is to actually be able to make those trade-offs. And even in a vision, being very deliberate on what trade-offs to call out, what trade-offs to highlight, can be extremely helpful for teams. When not there, it actually creates more confusion than anything else. If I said earlier, I'll try to also keep it pragmatic and try to give you an example of kind of a real life example. And to do that, I'll give you a bit of context so that you get a feel for my journey when it comes to visions. As I said, I'm leading the product organization at Marktplaats. Marktplaats is, as the picture probably gives away, a very Dutch brand. For the ones that are based in France, you might be familiar with Le Bon Coin. In Germany, it's Kleinanzeigen. There are many of these platforms or classifieds platforms across Europe. Marktplaats is a product that is used basically by the entire Dutch population. It is a bit of a cultural phenomenon. It's a company that is 27 years old, so one of the first internet companies, and it's a complex organization. It's a complex product because a product that has evolved over 27 years carries a lot of legacy, not only in the code, but also in the decisions that have been made. It's a product that is complex because, again, there is a strong embedding of this product in the lives of everyone in the Netherlands. Everyone has a story for me at any dinner party I'm at, telling me how I can make this product better. but also it's a complex product because you serve many different type of customers. You have customers that trade C2C, so consumer to consumer. If I have something in my house I'm no longer using, I'll put it on Marktplaats, and most likely it will be bought by someone that lives nearby, or maybe even on the other side of the city. We also though serve small and medium businesses, so businesses that are maybe at the very early stage, they don't want to start, that don't have the resources or the interest in having their own website, use Marktplaats a bit as a channel for reach. And we also have on the automotive side, of course, consumers looking for cars, but also dealers that want to advertise on our platform. So it's a pretty complex environment to work with. And to add complexity to this story, 2 years ago, we had a change in ownership that made us from a listed company to a private company. And with that change of ownership, as often happened, there was also a change in strategy from a more global outlook with a lot of shared capabilities across some of these European marketplaces like Le Bon Coin and Kleinanzeigen. We went more into a country specific, so very local strategy. So a moment of shift for the organization, but also a great opportunity to rethink of where are we going and what is our North Star. So what is the vision we want to this organization to work towards. So that was the moment. So let's say after the acquisition and after clarifying this change in strategy was actually the perfect moment to rethink our product vision, that we had a very old one that was clearly not fit anymore. And again, as I said, I've done different variations and different exercises of creating product visions. I wanted with this one to use all the painful learnings that I've accumulated over the years and actually try to turn them into things that will make the vision, my vision, succeed. And another spoiler alert, I believe it worked, and it worked with a combination of these learnings together of some of the way we handled the process. So I'll try to take you through both. First, learning. As I presented you 3 pitfalls earlier, and now it's the time to turn those into the strength of this latest product vision exercise. We said visions that stay very high level. They are very inspirational. They get people excited because it's all about this how this optimistic future and this very inspirational talk that you give on a stage. But when the direction is missing, when things are not relatable from the teams, it disappears into thin air after a few days. So the conscious choice I made this time was, okay, let's make it inspirational, but let's also make sure that the vision is anchored in customer moments. So that we're not just talking about us doing better against competition or going in a certain direction that where the experience is better. Let's actually translate that into what does it mean for our customers. Now, this sparked quite a few conversations earlier on in the process of creating this vision. One was, okay, what customers are we gonna look at? Is it all of them? Is it some of them? Are there some areas of the business that we want to prioritize? So I already made some of those decisions clear up front, but also forced us to be clear on what is value for this customer. So yes, there was an element of it's inspiring to think of a future where customers get even more value from us. But it's not just inspirational, because we're also starting to make it tangible on what that value actually can be. Second pitfall we mentioned earlier was communication choices. A vision that is prepared in a closed room and then just shared with the organization is not always landing well. There is always a moment of, oh, okay, so this is the vision, and what does it mean? I've also mentioned earlier that part of the communication is also the kind of format you choose. And I already gave away, I do not like strategy decks per se. I have the feeling that in many of the strategy decks there is a lot of work to actually wordsmith and define the perfect three strategic pillars. But this format generally does not really optimize for clarity. So in thinking, okay, what format can we use that actually forces us to have interesting or some might say tough conversations. And I went back to some of my past experiences for anyone that is listening in who has worked at Amazon or Zalando, like I've previously done. You might be very familiar with the format of press releases and frequently asked questions. These Word documents that look maybe boring and don't have all the nice visuals, but actually force you to describe a future as if that future is already there. So that was the format I chose this time. Said no graphs, no fancy slides, no aligning of boxes. Let's focus on this customer value. Let's think of a future where this customer value is there. Let's try to describe, as in a press release, as if we are 5 years from now and there is an article going in the news about how Marktplaats has stepped up their game. Let's try to articulate how these customers are talking about us. Let's write these customer stories. Let's really move from the idea to actually a reality we're able to describe. These PR FAQs documents are, again, Word documents. They're around 6 pages usually. They are, there is a part that is more inspirational, that is describing these customer stories, but there are also FAQs, and FAQs can be quite tough because those are the element, or those are the questions you need to answer on what's the actual customer you're focusing on, what's the value for them, how do you measure that, and a series of other things that make that press release actually more concrete. So we went with this format. We experimented with it a lot, really starting from those customer stories and then creating clarity as the conversation, our vision was moving forward. Last but not least, we talked about theory versus practice, and the idea of having a vision that, again, does not help people with decision. That's something I'm allergic to. I actually think if you put a piece of work that is actually a lot of work, like a vision, into the world, then the minimum it should do is to help teams when they are in a room, when they are looking at the plan for the next quarter, the next big feature to prioritize. When they are thinking of prioritization, and you are not in the room, that vision should help them with calling out trade-offs. So very intentionally, the vision we brought to the organization was full of these trade-offs, and some of them being very simple. So for example, on the already kind of baked into the story itself, the type of customers that were telling the stories, the age they had, the categories. For us, again, as being a multi-category marketplace, the categories they were trading in, all these things were pretty clear. But then we, of course, articulated even more what areas of the business, what areas of our proposition were not per se going to be part of, going to make us reach this North Star that the vision was articulated. So things that haven't worked for me and for the organizations that I've seen in the past, and things that this time actually made a difference. But as I anticipated, there is also an element of the process. So the content of your vision, again, can be great. You can select the right format. You can again be very clear on the customer value you're going to create, and the areas that you're not gonna really focus on. But how you get that vision from a discussion to actually being kept top of mind for your organization also really matters. So I try to kind of look at the 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 elements of this journey that for me and for the product leaders I've worked with to create the Marktplaats vision actually made it or broke it. Um, Number one, we started very close to the core. When I kind of realized, okay, it's a perfect moment to create a vision. I knew already that by creating a vision by myself, I would have come into many roadblocks. And actually, I thought it was way smarter to get my product leaders, my UX leaders as well, involved since the beginning. The choice was deliberate because these are the people that know our customers the best. These are also people that are pretty aware of our strategic direction and where we're going as a company. So having them in the room allowed, number one, to have very clear what our customers need, where we are delivering value, but also very clear where our growth ambitions are and how that value can be amplified as we grow. So that core group was involved from the very beginning. We were in the same room writing customer stories. And really testing each other's definition of what our North Star should be. Second important piece was getting leadership feedback early on. This was quite important because, of course, for a vision to be kind of to live in everyone's mind, it's very important that your leadership team is also fully embracing it. So as soon as we had a good enough draft, we actually put our vision in front of the rest of the leadership team. We made sure that anything that had to be sharpened was discussed. We had the tough conversations on whether the trade-offs were in line with our growth ambitions. And I have to say, luckily, because the core group that started this vision exercise was actually very strongly aware of our customers and our business ambitions. This was more kind of fine-tuning exercise than anything else. At this step, with having the endorsement from the leadership team, of course, created also on one hand excitement and will to bring this vision into the world and into the rest of the organization, and also quite some shared understanding and shared endorsement that this vision will have to be championed not only by UX and product leaders, but also by our senior leadership. The presentation, I think this for me was it was the first time, to be honest, that I tried a completely different approach. And as I said, in the creation of the vision itself, I wanted to steer away from strategy decks. We decided to steer away from strategy decks also when we presented this vision to the rest of the organization. We did it in a company all hands, so this was not just a vision for our product and tech organization. We did some let's say smaller presentation to make sure that key people in product and tech would be aware. But when presenting to the rest of the organization, we wanted to make it memorable. So we again wanted to steer away from boxes and slides. And we decided that since the core of this vision was actually these customer stories, we wanted the customer stories to kind of tell, do the storytelling. We went into the whole and giving a bit of context on the why and why now. And then we decided, we basically asked our everyone in the audience to close their eyes, and we played audio recordings that we had recorded with some of our real customers. We basically wanted everyone to imagine themselves in 2030, going, through the street, hearing stories told directly from our customers. And these allowed us, on one hand, to steer away from visuals, because we know that any vision presented with visuals of features that will be implemented at some point rubs teams in the wrong way. And also these, for everyone in the audience sitting with their eyes closed, thinking they would be in 5 years from now, starting imagining the future in their head, proved to be actually quite powerful, because again, we were not putting visuals in front of them. We're actually describing the type of value that will be there for our customers in 4 or 5 years from now. The making memorable when first presented was important. What was also important was then the work that came after. Presenting a vision is just the beginning. You kind of plant a seed in everyone's minds. What is quite then important is to make sure that seed grows. So as an agreement with the senior leadership team and any of our product and tech leaders, we agreed that anything we would do, anything we would present, be it the priorities for the next quarter, the roadmap, strategic deep dive on one of the areas, we would always start from our product vision. And we also agreed that the moment we would feel that the product vision would be not that relevant anymore, we would actually do a conscious effort of rethinking it, which is basically what we are now as 26 has kicked in the process of doing, actively thinking for the way the business, the market, and the customers are evolving. Does this vision need a refresh so that we can keep evolving? So also here, implicit learning is that the vision should not be static. With that, I think I am at time, so I'll try to wrap it up very quickly. A few takeaways. There is, for a successful vision to get into the world and live on, there are aspects that come to the content of it. So the way you think of it, the way you get the customer into it. The format also can help you with clarity, especially if you're more the type that wants to avoid that kind of trade-off conversations and making those kind of decisions, because those will be important for the receivers of your vision. On the process side, it's very important who you involve at what stage, and especially that memorability of the first moment you put a vision into the world, together with your ability to keep the vision top of mind and keep it relevant. So I hope this was useful, and that my learnings can be useful, and also in your experiences. I hope that as you move on into the next days and weeks, you'll also be able to look at your product vision and think, okay, does it really help me to take decisions? Does it help my organization to take decision? Is it top of mind? So that ultimately you can get to the North Star, get to create that vision that will help the organization making better decisions, avoid going into endless conversational loops, and maybe get them a bit out of some of the old habits. With that, I'm very curious to hear what questions we will get during the Q&A, and I'll pass it back to you, Batul.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen again. Thank you so much, Chiara, for the lovely presentation. We also have the same link for Slido if anyone wants to ask a question. And we will also, if you're watching us from LinkedIn, we also will have questions asked from LinkedIn as well. So let's just wait a few more seconds. Let me see if we have any questions. Okay. We have the first question. What signals tell you that a product vision is actually shaping decisions and not just inspiring people?
That's a very good question. From what I've seen it in different shapes and forms. I've seen it, for example, when our some of our product leaders present a strategy. If they start from that vision, that's already a good sign that they keep that. That's a starting point for them to then define how what areas are they going to work on, and what problems they're going to solve and how. Um, Another piece that for me is very important, because I've mentioned that anchoring the vision into customers, their stories, and the value we bring for them, is when you ask product team, okay, what kind of problem are you solving and for whom? If that same customer, that value that is described in the vision comes back, for me, that's a very strong sign that we are aligned. In general, again, the thing I'm very happy with this last vision exercise is that I don't only see it in the product teams. I also see this more from senior leadership point of view, and that is something, again, I think, because of the format, because of the way we have run this exercise, as basically connected not only to our roadmaps, but also to the way we shape the strategic direction further.
All right, thank you so much. We have another question. At we refreshed or redefined?
Um, it's very hard to tell. Like in the past, I've tried to do this like every year or so, or every 6 months. Like I have a moment for myself to ask, okay, is this still relevant? What I see lately with the speed at which consumers are changing the way, for example, we're a marketplace, right? So, and usually you would Google something, you search, start your search on Google, and then come to a marketplace. Now a lot of people use ChatGPT or Gemini. I see that in the way people interact with my marketplace, that for me is already a signal that, hey, maybe a certain behavior or a certain trend that was not there when I wrote the vision in the first place requires for me to look at it again. You need to have a bit of a sense for how big these shifts are. I mean, the shift from the shift to LLMs for me is a very big one, because it affects this industry, my industry, quite a lot. Competitor shifts are also something that usually get us to if the vision is still relevant. So there are a few of these bigger events. If you work in a more in a quieter type of industry where there is less disruption, I literally put in the calendar a moment every 6 months to think, hey, is this still relevant? Does it still help my teams making decisions, or are now the decisions very different? Therefore, I need to give a different type of compass.
Right, that's fair enough. 6 months is quite a good time. Okay, another question. Do you have examples to illustrate what a vision presentation could look like, or how it could come to life? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you again. In the past, I've done a lot of these. I'll give you a bad example and maybe a good example. So, bad example for me, and this I'm talking when I was more on the receiving side of a vision. So when I was an individual contributor, and kind of, the leaders above me would come in and present their vision. Bad example for me is going to your organization and say, hey, this is our North Star, and this is how it looks like. So we're going to have 3 pillars, 4 pillars. And then for each pillar, I'm going to tell you what features are going to be there based on what the competition is doing, based on what our design team has come up with, based on what I this morning thought was a great idea to implement in our product. That for me is a bad vision, because it's forced. It feels more like a roadmap, and it completely demotivates people. When we started this talk, I said, hey, the question for me, especially the moment I became a leader, is how do I actually create direction but not take the fun of ownership and decision making away? A presentation like that kills that enthusiasm. So I would strongly recommend not to do it. For me, again, the strongest example, I had some doubts when we decided to present the Marktplaats vision in an all hand, and we went on stage and we said, hey, the purpose of our vision is to create clarity and to give kind of a dot on the horizon of where we're going, and we're trying to bring it to life with customer stories. And then everyone expected slides with pillars, and instead we asked them to close their eyes, and we played audio recordings of users telling us how in 2030 they are super happy with Marktplaats because of these and these, and because it makes them their life easier that way. I was pretty nervous. I thought this is just not, maybe it's not concrete enough. Maybe it's not going to land. And actually, people still remember the presentation. People, we have played some of these audio recordings in other company meeting, so that actually was way more memorable. So I'll give, again, it's a bit bold. I found it a bit bold. Again, I am used to decks. I don't like them, but I am used to them. So this was a bit of a bolder way of yeah, not be too prescriptive, but still describe what that future will be like. So for me, that's a much better example.
Yeah, I would also like to echo the same, and I would also say when you add human factor into anything that you present, it resonates well, rather than like a very polished deck
Yeah,
or a document. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Then we have, how do you deal with stakeholder expectation? Any advice? For example, sometimes we need to reprioritize something that a stakeholder sees as a priority, and we break this expectation.
Yes. We had this a lot because, as I said, we had to make trade-offs, and there were some areas of the business that were not mentioned or were not part of that value, because it was also, you also need to be honest, like especially if you start from that customer and from that value. Not everything will add value to that customer. So, and therefore, as a, yeah, product leader, you need to focus on that value, and you need to look at yeah, be deliberate with what is part of your vision or not. um, for me, the most important element all the time is to be very clear in explaining why. So to be very clear on, hey, we are, this is a new company strategy. In our case, again, focus on local. These are the biggest growth opportunities, and therefore we're going to be very clear. We're going to be investing in those growth areas because they bring this value to the customer. These other areas are either more business as usual, they're more maintenance, or they're areas where we're not going to invest. And we understand there are people in your organization that their whole uh, job is based on certain revenue lines, on certain things that might not be a priority per se in looking to the future. It's important to take them along the explanation of why we don't have capacity to tackle also those areas, or why we're being very deliberate. um, because and that's what I like about product management. In the end, you're kind of like a gatekeeper. You're looking at the whole organization, at the value to bring, and everyone will come at you with different requests, but you need to kind of sit above all of these and be very clear on, yeah, for some areas we will prioritize, there is a lot of value, and for the ones that have less value, sorry,
Yes.
but not possible. But again, relationship building and a lot of the taking people through and be very clear on why you've taken a certain decision and what actually is the value you're going to bring. Because I've many stakeholders coming to me and say, yeah, I of course have a certain revenue line I need to grow, but I also understand that this value is more important, or these priorities are more important because they bring more value. So I've kind of slowly, I actually get some good positive reactions.
All right. Thank you. That's a very, very, very actionable answer. Okay. We have one more question. When and how do you, sorry, when and how often did you communicate the vision to different groups in the company? How did you repeat it to keep it top of mind? For example, all hands meeting, anything that comes to mind.
I would say you are the biggest advocate of your vision. So you have the duty of repeating it as many times as possible, and to let's say plug it in, like do shameless plugs on your vision. Um, I also have very strong support from our CEO, who refers to this vision at any possible all hand meeting. At any time there is an element of customer and value and how we're shaping our decisions, it refers back to that vision. So that is for me extremely important. I'll be honest, I've also done very deep dives with the product managers multiple times on specific areas of the vision and what that means. I've done kind of like some repetition matters. I also make sure that, for example, if we do an all hands that is all about our motors categories, that there is a product leader on the stage, and she will refer back to the vision. She will start from the vision. So you have to do it over and over again. And again, if you then go into refreshing it, of course, the cycle starts again. But I would say every day I remind someone, or I kind of mention the product vision, and I think it's my role and the role again of my product and UX leaders, because they are also big advocates of it, also because they were part of creating it.
Yeah. All right. That's a. It's also that once you believe in it and you see every project as a driver to that vision, you also start, talking about it in casual discussions and everything. That's something that we asked earlier on in the poll.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. Okay, I think we have all the questions. If there are more questions, feel free to ask them on LinkedIn, and either someone from Product People, or we can ask Chiara to kindly look at the
Of course.
comments later. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about product people. The use cases we cover, we are there for interim or fractional support for product management or product leader positions. So we do cover permanent position covers. For example, you're hiring, it takes up to 3 to 9 months to hire somebody as a full-time employee. Then we come in and we help you. There are parental leave covers. And if so, for example, someone's going on a maternity or paternity leave, we jump in to help. We can also coach your product management team to reach their full potential, go from streamlining processes from 0 to 1, including product ops and product program management. And we can also assist you with running discovery to uncover your next impactful initiative or product. Okay, these are some of the clients that we have worked with, our B2B, B2C clients, which include eBay, FreeNow, Omeo, Ecosia, and many others. And these are some of the B2B clients that we have worked with. Um, these are some of them. We have a huge list, but you can also check that out on our website. Some of the stats. So we have supported cross-functionally. We have supported 690 plus teams. We have 40 product leaders and managers, product managers, in-house employees, and 15. We have 59% women are in our team and 60% in the leadership. Because that is because we have skills before CVs process, so it's all blind until the actual interview. And thank you for listening. Please share your questions with us if you have any. We would be happy to answer. And last but not the least, if you are interested in uh, hearing more from us, there is a newsletter. We release one newsletter uh, per month, and we are also hiring. So feel free to scan the QR code and apply. All right, I think that is it. Thank you so much, Kiara. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in and also posting really really good questions. And also, Kiara, for a lovely talk. It was really I learned a lot from it, and I'm sure others have too.
Thanks.
Okay.